All right, welcome into a one-timer episode of Judd's Hockey Show. It is Zolgad, as always. It is Declan Goff, and Declan, there is one reason why on this Saturday morning we have decided to convene the Judd's Hockey Show committee and do a one-timer. And it really, I'd like to be clear here because hockey's a sport about team, right? Like, oh, the team is always working hard. It's not about one player. It's always about the team, which is
Right.
which in hockey parlance is fantastic.
Yeah.
That being said, the honest to remove all the BS. This is about one person and one person only. Kirill Kaprizov, my man. We have, as far as I'm concerned, we have a superstar on our hands here. Hat trick and a 4-0 win against the Arizona Coyotes on Friday night at the X. And I believe it was our friend Patrick Donnelly who tweeted something along the lines of, this is the most impactful rookie in Minnesota. So not hockey, among the men's professional sports teams since Moss. And you could argue, I suppose, Peterson in 2007, who was damn good. I mean, stepped in. You know, Justin Jefferson this year had a really nice year. We all like him. We all think he's going to be good. But I'm inclined to agree with what Donnelly said about Moss, and here's why. Moss, one, changed the game itself, which I don't think Kaprizov is doing. Don't get me wrong there. But he also changed the team, and he changed how people felt about the team. And he brought – so the Vikings in 97 going into 98 had been successful, but were sort of boring. Like, they had some good players, but they weren't really a sexy team. And it felt like the fan base had grown stagnant at that time. And so it didn't feel like there were a lot of new fans coming aboard. It was the same fans. Moss completely changed that. And that's where I think Kaprizov is making a difference that we have not seen since Moss. I think Kirill Kaprizov, because the Wild has been boring. They have not been terrible, but they've been boring. They have been vanilla. I really believe that this kid is going to bring a whole new crop of fans aboard. And as us hockey guys know, most importantly, Dex, I think he's going to bring a crop of sports fans aboard who probably previously weren't really hockey fans.
Exactly. I do think he's probably the most impactful rookie that we've had since Moss. Now, the Wolves haven't had anyone like this. Maurer's hype and Buxton's hype was good, but they got injured or they got off to slow starts. I mean, it's not even really comparable. AP, yes, was an absolute monster and a beast, but the Vikings were still also, they were stagnant before AP got here. They were 500 under Chile. They weren't really, no one was really expecting it, but at the same time, I mean, he had some big performances. I would say he's above Adrian Peterson, but you can put him right there on the list of Jefferson, Moss, AP, and now Kirill Kaprizov. And it's insane, man. I mean, they're tied going into the third period. It's been mostly just kind of a meh, boring Friday night game. I'm watching a baby. My sister tasked me with watching the baby nephew. I get him down, and then he scores the first one. Okay, great. But the second one, Judd, that second goal was I mean, that was the Minnesota Kirills. You may as well change the franchise name to the Minnesota Kirills, Judd, because he took the entire game over. It was 0-0, and then the last 14 minutes of the game, Kirill Kaprizov says, "Hey, let me just get a hat trick here, quick." It was unbelievable. He's so good.
Yeah. It was the definition of just sort of a grinded out, boring game, and it's also, Dex, the definition of a game that this franchise at home has lost 1,000 times, right?
Yeah, backup goalie.
It's 0-0. Cam Talbot's in, let's replace Cam with the name Devin Dubnyk or Alex Stalock, right? And the Coyotes take a shot from the point, and it goes off somebody's skate, and then goes in, and oh my goodness, the Wild lose 1-0 or 2-0 if there is an empty net goal. But this is the difference when you have a superstar. This is, because you're right. So let's go through that second goal. Let's just go through it.
Yeah.
And talk about that second goal. And how many players in this franchise's before this season, Declan, 19 years, could have scored that goal. Kaprizov, so the puck is in the Coyotes zone. Kaprizov steps off the bench and sprints towards the puck. He essentially then corrals the puck and takes it away from a Coyotes player. He then proceeds through his strength, through his ability to handle the puck, and some of the most unbelievable work on the edges of a skate that I've ever seen. Like, he does this all the time. He then proceeds to play keep away with the puck, wraps around behind the goal, goes probably what you would call medium slot, and rips a shot, all while never losing the puck. I mean, could Gaborik have done that? Because, I mean, Gaborik's the one name that we're going to. Now, I think Gaborik was a star player with a ton of potential. But one, he played the majority of his time here in a different league, because that league was all about trapping, and that league was about being boring as possible. I mean, until the lockout in 04-05, the National Hockey League was on a death mission to kill its product. It was awful.
Yes.
And Gaborik, it's not his fault, played in that system. Number two was Jacques Lemaire wanted him to play that style, right? So if Gaborik could do some of the things that Kirill is doing, I don't think he was allowed to. That's assuming he could do it. So when I go superstar, when I go transformative player, I'm also talking about the era in which Kaprizov is playing, what he is allowed to do. And I have never seen this before from a player in a Wild jersey. And it's now become consistent. Like, this is not fluky stuff. Like, you're not this good by a fluke. You're this good because you are this good.
To your point about Gabby, and it being a trap game and a boring style, and as you said, death march to kill its own sport. It was. I think also at the same time, because it was so boring and Gabby was so flashy and so quick. I mean, Gaborik wasn't the fastest skater, but he was one of the quickest. He was insanely quick. So when you would see him be able to take a puck and go on a breakaway, and I believe even at the All-Star game, he won the fastest skills competition for fastest player. The game was so boring that it was an extra excitement to see Gaborik do that, right? But with Kirill and with this franchise being mostly lacking that presence, lacking that star. I mean, when I was watching the game, Judd, what I had the epiphany of, and I know we've talked about this before, but it goes to the point of how many people just loved Mikael Granlund and love, like, wow, watch what Granlund can do if he has space and open ice. And then you watch Kirill Kaprizov. I don't know how you can say, wow, Granlund was a special player. Like, like it's night and day different, and that's what popped in my mind after he scored the second one. Cause I was thinking, my God, like, yeah, Granlund, he was insanely gifted. And if you put him on an Olympic sheet ice, I bet he would have thrived. And he has thrived. We've seen him thrive on Olympic sheet ice in the Olympics before. But what Kirill's been able to do is insane. And Judd, to the point, what was it? 12 games into the season, and Kirill was playing well, but he wasn't shooting a lot. Mm-hmm. And he was being a distributor. He was still putting up flashy plays. And we said, you know what? You need to shoot more. And it's okay to criticize him to shoot more. And in those 11 games, he only had 17 shots. So that was basically a shot and a half a game. Over the last 14, he's now averaging 3 shots per game. And you're seeing now hat tricks. You're seeing more goals. This is why we asked Kirill to shoot more, because you get even more from him.
8 shots last night. 8 shots, which I believe is as high for this year so far. Yeah, absolutely. Another difference between a guy like Granlund, who's very good, and Kaprizov is this. Granlund, to achieve success, needed room. Like, his starting space had to have room. Kaprizov does things, and I think it's because he's so good on his edges. Mm-hmm. Kaprizov does things in a phone booth. Like, look at, and it's everything, Dex. He made a pass, not last night. I believe it was in the Vegas game. It might have been Wednesday night. He made a pass, and it didn't result in a goal, I don't think. But it was a pass that he made with his stick, basically almost against his chest. And it was a gorgeous pass. And I said to myself, how do you make that pass? Like, most guys have to extend their stick a little bit, right? Just to get comfortable to make the pass. But this guy plays in a phone booth, and he is fantastic. 23 points now, which of course leads all rookies. And he is running away with the Calder Trophy. 10 goals now. Again, 8 shots last night. Let me ask you this, because I saw this today in Russo's story in The Athletic.
Okay.
So you're playing the Coyotes, okay? I wouldn't consider them a special team. I wouldn't consider them a team that scares me.
No.
I will say that when you beat Vegas back to back, coming back and playing the Coyotes, it probably can take you a while to get going because the atmosphere on Wednesday was a playoff one. And obviously, if you're playing Arizona, it's not going to be the same. So I can't say I was completely surprised that the Wild didn't get off to an impressive start last night, coming off the 2 games that they were. But according to Russo's story, the Zuccarello, Kaprizov, Rask line, and Matt's continues to be, as far as his chemistry with Kirill goes, absolutely outstanding. That line played at 2 shifts and 48 seconds in the first 11 minutes of the game because of line matching that Everson was trying to do against the Coyotes.
Yeah.
Can you explain that one to me a little bit? like I get the desire to match lines and do that, but I don't think, unless I'm off my rocker here, and tell me if I am, I don't think Kirill Kaprizov and Kevin Fiala should be held to a, oh yeah, son, I'm sorry, it's not your time to play stance.
Look, Dino, as we like to call him, is pushing all the right buttons right now. He really is. He's doing a great job.
But we need to bring this to the forefront on our show, because most people that talk about this team will not talk about this.
And I think him and Bill Guerin have this, basically Frankenstein atmosphere with the Wild, where they have hodgepodge this great creation, and it's thriving. Look, if you want to match lines against Vegas or even Colorado, and you want Eck out there, and you want Foligno and Greenway out there, and whomever it is to shut down top fast guys, I get that. That makes a lot of sense to me. So if that means Kaprizov isn't playing as much against those teams to start, at least, I can understand that. It's the Coyotes, man. For God's sakes, Phil Kessel had 4 breakaways and still couldn't finish at the net. I mean,
he had 2 on the same shift.
Oh my God!
Cam Talbot, who we could talk about, played really well.
Yes, we will.
But Phil Kessel had 2 breakaways on the same shift.
Yes,
which if I'm Dean, I say my line matching's not going very well. Let's play 97.
Yeah, Judd, to answer your question, I really don't know why Dino would be trying to basically play matching lines with an Arizona team, which is better than the Sharks and Ducks, but isn't going to be, scaring anyone anytime soon. And they got their backup goaltender. And if anything, I'm going full throttle. There's a guy who's made 2 starts all season. I don't know why you aren't going all in on it. So it was very strange. Yeah,
and I just don't agree with taking dynamic players off the ice unless there's a damn good reason to do so. And that line has played well, and Kaprizov it's not close. He is your best player.
Yep.
Cam Talbot. Okay. Let's talk about, because how many times last year did you give me the stats about how horrible the Wild goaltending was? And Dubnyk and Stalock were awful. Let's talk about a great problem. This is a fantastic problem, especially in a season that is so condensed as this one and has so many rapid-fire games. Cam Talbot clearly was incentivized by how well Kaapo Kähkönen has played last night. He was not, I wouldn't say Cam Talbot was outstanding, but I thought he was very solid. I thought he was very good after a layoff. He also grew, it looked like, more confident and comfortable as the game progressed. My point is, we've gone from a season ago basically saying, oh my God, who's going to start in goal because it's going to be a disaster, to you now have 2 solid options. And if they continue to play like this, you have a great problem of there not being that clear cut. This guy starts a ton and this guy does not. I agree that Kaapo should have started Wednesday against the Golden Knights because he had played so well in that first game. But what you would have hoped happened, which was Talbot said, okay, bleep this, I'm coming back and playing well too. This is as big of 180 from the 2019-20 season, Declan Goff, as you could possibly get.
Yeah, this was a big performance for him. And I'm glad Dino put him in. I'm glad you gave him the start on Friday. You can split this up. You don't have to pull a Devin Dubnyk and run a guy out there for 38 consecutive starts or start him 95% of the time. You had to figure out a time to get Talbot in, and Talbot had a great start. And also, I know going into the game, his numbers weren't great, but I thought they were deceiving. I made the point to you that he wins his first 2 starts. Then he gets COVID. Then he has an injury. Then he has COVID. Then Kaapo starts playing well. Like, every external factor was working against him. He wasn't hurting his own game. Everything else was getting in the way. And for him to come in and make a big start against Arizona and pull a shutout, I thought was huge. Yes, Kaapo is still your number 1. I think someone asked me 2 weeks ago during the last homestand, who is 1 and who is 2, and I said 1A Cam Talbot, 1B Kaapo Kähkönen. If anything, I think I've flipped that. It's 1A Capo Kakinen and 1B Cam Talbot. You know, I would even say going into a playoff series, Capo gets games 1 and 2. Like I'd be shocked if he didn't get games 1 and 2. Now, if you're down 2-0 in the series, if Capo drops both games, yeah, that's probably when Cam Talbot would come in and start game 3. But at the same time, Talbot causing a good problem to have here, because the Wild were going to get better goaltending. We knew that. But if Capo, who's basically also putting himself in the Rookie of the Year candidacy, if Cam Talbot can just be Cam Talbot, just be league average, this is a great problem to have. This is awesome.
Okay, the bad news last night.
Okay.
And this is potentially one piece of pretty bad news. I believe it was in the first period. Brodin takes a shot. It hits Marcus Foligno in the boot of the right skate. Foligno, who is as tough as nails, goes down. He gets off the ice, but barely. Like he barely gets off the ice. He gets to the far end of the Wild bench where he can't walk at that point. They look at him there, and then at the next whistle, he has to be helped off, putting no weight on that right leg to the room. According to Russo's story this morning in The Athletic, he left with a boot on and on crutches. Yeah. This probably means that Marcus Johansson is going to get back in. Foligno is out. But the problem here is Marcus Foligno brings a ton to this team. He's had a really nice year. And from what we saw last night, it sure looked like something might be broken. And I could see him being out for an extended period of time. And that's not going to be, considering his skill set and what he does bring, an easy guy to replace.
No, it won't. And look, he's scoring points this year for the first time. I mean, he's been damn good on that line. That line's been a shutdown line. It's been shutting down opposing lines. That would be a significant loss. I mean, it's not losing Fiala or Kaprizov to that degree, but you're losing a very important person in the room. We talked about on Wednesday what his off the ice presence has meant for the team. There's concern there, and maybe this is an opportunity for Marcus Johansson to come in and start playing well, and maybe you can trade him. But at the same time, I would rather just keep seeing Marcus Foligno stay. I would rather see Marcus Foligno stay healthy, and Marcus in the Johansson, two Marcuses, Johansson in the press box. So yeah, that's a blow to the Wild, because I think Foligno brings a lot to this team, and I'm hoping he's going to be all right. But yeah, they're going to be without him. If he's in a boot, Judd, I mean, he's out for at least 2 weeks, if not more.
Okay, let's do something fun here. Let's talk line combinations now, potentially with Foligno out, because we love. Judd's Hockey Show loves a lot of things, but we particularly love one thing: line combinations. Okay, so if Foligno is out, Ek and Greenway almost certainly stay together on the same line. And the question becomes, who becomes the right wing on that line? May I submit to you that the right wing on that line, he's not a perfect fit for what they do, but I think he deserves it. Kevin Fiala, right wing, because Kevin Fiala flat out, and I told you this on Judd's Hockey Show that we recorded on Thursday, and I will continue to bang the drum on this one, Declan Goff. Ryan Hartman has turned himself into a center that I really like, and he works his ass off. And again, he has a skills.
He also had a very, very, very good game last night.
Yes, but putting Kevin Fiala, who I still consider to be an elite talent, I'm not saying he's Kaprizov, but he is an elite talent. On a line with Zach Parise and Ryan Hartman is selling Fiala short.
Yeah,
Eriksson has much more of a skill set offensively than Hartman does. Now, this would mean that Fiala would be also on a line that goes against some top lines, but that challenge might not be a bad thing. But I do think that this is I'd like to see them at least give him that chance, because I don't think Kevin has done a thing that really deserves being on what is without question a third line.
Yep. And look, Kevin Fiala has spent the majority of his time with Joel Eriksson Ek this season. So, I mean, he has spent more time with Ek than any other player. He has spent over 111 minutes with them. They've had positive Corsies. They've been +2 in terms of goals on and goals off. So there has been chemistry there. I would say it would make more sense to put him with Ek, who is a grinder, and Greenway. And yes, there might be some defensive deficiencies in Fiala's game that would maybe hold back what Ek and Greenway like to bring. But I'd rather just see, put Johansson with Hartman and Parise. Just put like it doesn't matter, like also I know Johansson has a little bit more defensive prowess. He can play a penalty kill, so it might make more sense to just literally swap in Foligno for Johansson. But I think it would be much better for Fiala's game, who also was a little quiet last night. He almost had a power play goal, but he had a quieter game. Fiala did last night. I'd rather see him get back with Joel Eriksson and possibly score more goals.
Yeah, I could see putting Johansson with Hartman and Parise, or I could actually see bumping him down to the fourth line and promoting Bukestad to the third line, right wing. I mean, Johansson's going to be rusty, and I've got to tell you, Dex, like you said, for the most part, when he was healthy and playing, it wasn't like he knocked our socks off. But I am more concerned about putting Fiala in a position as much as possible to succeed, because Kevin Fiala, I think, works hard. And I think that there's more there consistently that they can get, and they're probably not pushing the right buttons there. So, all right, sir, unless you have final thoughts, we're done with this one-timer edition of Judd's Hockey Show. And I'll tell you right now, as long as Kirill Kaprizov continues to play like this, we'll be back a lot more often with one-timers, because this is incredible.
And Judd, as we close, line charts just come in as we're literally just doing it. So I got them right here. Kaprizov, Rask, Zuccarello.
Okay.
Greenway, Hartman, Fiala. So they broke up Ek and Greenway. Greenway, Hartman, Fiala.
Hold on a second. 18, 38, 22. Yep.
Parise, Ek, Bukestad. I don't like that one bit.
Parise, Ek, and they're trying to get Zach going.
Yep. And then rounding things out, Sturm, Bonino, Johansson / Luke Johnson as the extra skater.
Sturm, Bonino,
Johansson.
And then Johansson.
Well, I don't like these at all. I hate these.
Well, why don't you give Fiala Ek? And by the way, Zach might just be cooked. Like,
I think he is, man. He is cooked.
But I mean, there's no. Oh yeah, I'm not. I guess I'll have to digest these more. But yeah, I don't like putting. Yeah. Look, Hartman. I like Hartman though. I don't want to rip him because he's a good. I think he works really hard, and I think he's brought something. But Fiala is potentially an elite level talent, and I think Eriksson Ek is your best center.
Yeah.
And so, and I think Dex, if I'm not mistaken, you made this point a few weeks back. I think your point is, and it's right, Kaprizov can create by himself. Like, he can play with Rask.
Yep, he can.
Mats helps Kaprizov a lot.
Yes.
But Kaprizov can take the puck and do things that most human beings can't do.
Yep.
Fiala needs somebody. Like, Fiala needs that. He needs a center. And I think Eriksson Ek's his best shot.
Yeah, I don't like this at all.
Ryan Hartman, to me, is a grinder. And Zach is a grinder now.
Yep.
That's who Zach is. Zach Parise still works hard. He's just a grinder. Zach Parise now has had the talent basically stripped away. Yep. And he's left with what he's always been, which is he is a grinder at heart. I mean, his dad, JP, went into the corners and grinded things out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will have to digest this because I'm just seeing this for the first time.
Yeah.
But I don't think I really like the Hartman line, and I don't like the Eriksson Ek idea. And I don't think getting Parise a spark is very important at this point in time. I'd prefer to have him basically play on. I would rather take the chance of seeing if Hartman, Parise, and Bukestad can actually lock down top lines.
I agree.
And to experiment with Ek, at least early in games, coming off the lockdown, and like give him the second line. This might sound crazy, but give Eriksson Ek the second best line of each team.
Yeah.
And allow him more offensive opportunity with Fiala and Greenway.
I agree. I think that's a good call.
Because I think you can basically tell Parise, Hartman, and Bukestad just tie guys up. And I think they're going to work hard.
I agree.
So anyway, yeah, I got to digest that more, bud. All
right.
It. Judd's one-timer with breaking news. You got to love breaking news on line combinations. Declan, go ahead.
Pass, shoot, score.